Hi everyone, I'm Anne-Marie Green.
And I'm Errol Barnett. And here we are, the countdown almost over because Election Day is tomorrow. You've got leaders from both parties making one final push and pitch today before tens of millions of Americans head to the polls. President Trump visits Ohio, Indiana and Missouri today to wrap up his whirlwind campaign tour, a real blitz. Meantime, his predecessor, former President Barack Obama, has also been on the campaign trail to fire up the Democratic Party's base. He heads to Virginia today.
More than 34 million Americans have already cast a ballot in early voting. That's an increase of more than 50% over the 2014 midterms. Our CBS News Battleground Tracker found 2/3 of voters think this election matters just as much as the 2016 presidential vote. Another quarter says the midterms matter even more. Major Garrett has the latest reaction from the White House.
I need you to vote for a Republican House and a Republican Senate.
At multiple rallies Sunday, the president relied on economic gains and border fears.
They want to impose socialism on our country. We will keep the criminals, drug dealers, and terrorists the hell out of our country.
A new CBS News Battleground Tracker poll shows more than 7 in 10 voters say their vote will be about President Trump. 34% say they will vote to support the president. 38% say they will vote to oppose him.
With so many people in the House, it's very hard to make those stops.
Before leaving the White House for 2 Sunday rallies, the president again focused on the Senate as a protective barrier against a blue wave in the House.
My primary focus has been on the Senate, and I think we're doing really well in the Senate.
Former President Obama joined the weekend political frenzy with a rally for vulnerable Indiana Democratic Senator Joe Donnelly.
You get to vote in what I believe will be the most important election of our lifetimes.
On that, the two presidents, different in so many ways, almost agreed.
I don't know if I rate it more important than the last election, 16, but it's right there.
But their partisan differences remain clear.
They've racked up enough indictments to field a football team. Nobody in my administration got indicted.
The Democrats want to turn back the clock, throw America in reverse, and return power to a corrupt, selfish ruling class.
With more now, Major Garrett joins us from the White House. So, Major, over the past week or so, we've heard a lot from the president about the caravan and immigration, a real focus on immigration. So he has 3 more stops today to ramp up support. I think he's not going to get back to Washington, D.C. until the wee hours of the morning. And we have heard, there have been reports that Speaker Paul Ryan called the president and asked him to sort of maybe tone down the focus on the caravan and immigration and dial up the focus on the economy, which is actually doing great, which one would think would be a great thing to campaign on. What can you tell us about that conversation?
Well, it illustrates the divergent political strategies. Outgoing House Speaker Paul Ryan, he's not running for re-election, wants to preserve the House Republican majority. He knows that most vulnerable seats, either those that are open, meaning the existing Republican is not seeking re-election, or are contested with a Republican incumbent seeking re-election, are in swing districts where this immigration focus of the president simply does not work, and as a matter of fact undercuts independent and lightly attached Republican support, thereby jeopardizing those House Republican seats, and with it the House Republican majority. Clearly, that is Speaker Paul Ryan's focus. The president wants to emphasize, and I guarantee you will continue to emphasize, immigration over the economy. Why? Because his focus is on Senate seats in places that he won handily in 2016. Montana, Missouri, Indiana. He didn't win Florida handily, but he won nevertheless. Those are 4 states for sure, but West Virginia falls into that category as well. And so the president's emphasis is on adding seats in the United States Senate. He has been less focused, and this White House has, throughout this midterm campaign season, been less focused on the House races, understanding that there is always has been, a very good likelihood, not only of losing a lot of seats, but quite possibly that House majority. So if you are baking that into the cake of your expectations, and the White House clearly has, what is your best alternative? to increase your majority, your Republican majority in the Senate. Why is the Senate as important, if not more important, to this White House than the House of Representatives? Because the Senate is the place into which any future nominations from this president go. And when you run the calendar and you have the majority, you decide when those nominations hit the floor, and you have more power and clout to get them approved and confirmed. That is by far the higher priority for this White House, given the choice. Do you protect the House majority, or do you gain seats in the Senate? The White House decided a long time ago it is unlikely to achieve both, so it's focused on the Senate. For all sorts of institutional and parochial reasons, House Speaker Paul Ryan would much prefer an economic focus, because in those vulnerable House seats, he knows that works better than the hardcore, hard, intense, strident immigration rhetoric.
Yeah, and Major, the polls have been pretty consistent. According to the latest CBS News battleground tracker, Democrats are very likely to take the House, the estimate being they'll get 225 seats, even though they only need 218 to take the majority. And you asked Press Secretary Sarah Sanders about this possibility. Let's just take a quick listen to what she said to you.
Look, I think we're going to see what happens tomorrow. We think we have a great story to tell. The president's making that case. You'll see him do that again 3 times later today. And if people are voting on policy and things like the economy, I think we're in a really great position moving forward.
And Major, you teed it up really well by saying that, President Trump's strategy is to get as many Senate seats as possible. What is the political reality if Democrats do take the majority in the House when it comes to things like investigations and looking for evidence from the White House? And how is that impacting the mood there about what could be to come?
Well, the White House is clearly going to have to brace for that reality if Democrats regain control of the House, because come January of next year, they will be invested with oversight powers currently in the hands of Republicans. And with that comes the power to subpoena. There also have been legal documents created by this Trump White House that prioritize requests from the majority party in Congress over the minority party. Well, if Democrats take control and would be the majority party, by legal documents propounded and created by this very Trump White House, they would be first in line to ask questions and, according to this White House, get immediate answers from the administration on all sorts of matters that Democrats say Republicans simply have not exercised proper oversight over. That goes to spending within agencies, regulatory changes, use of government aircraft, lots of other matters that House Democrats have long asserted Republicans have ignored, given this White House essentially a free pass and not lived up to the check and balances component of the House and the Senate using their powers as a check against executive power. That's been one of the underlying, not a dominant theme of this campaign season for Democrats, but clearly an underlying theme. And to Sarah's point just a moment ago, the Press Secretary Sarah Sanders, if people are voting on policy, that's a very big if. Our battleground tracker poll also indicates that there's a strong personal component driving people to voting. Trump supporters clearly like the president, like his agenda, but Democrats and some independents don't like the president personally, and even though they may be benefiting economically, find parts of his approach to the presidency so disconcerting they may in fact vote against their own economic self-interest to send a signal and to put the check and balance equation back into the mix, and that would be one of the verdicts if in fact House Democrats retake control of that chamber.
All right, it's all very interesting. I tell you to rest up because tomorrow's going to be a big day, but I know you're not going to be doing any resting for the next 48 hours or so. Major Garrett, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Major.
Thank you.